You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Do you feel like you played small in 2023? Well, 2024 is the year I believe we can all start to play bigger. We can let go of a lot of the fear and the doubt that was really holding so many people across the globe back in 2023, release all of that, move forward into 2024 with more confidence, more self-belief and determination, deliberation to actually achieve what it is that you want this year. So this episode is going to share with you the 3 things that I believe that are the biggest rocks you need to drop, the things that you need to let go of and leave behind in 2023 if that's what you want to achieve this year. So stay tuned. It's coming right up.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
Welcome back to the first solo episode of She's the Business podcast in 2024. I'm so thrilled to be here with you and to be bringing you this episode today, all about how to play bigger in 2024. I'm going to touch on the 3 things that I think we should be leaving behind in 2023 so that you can achieve that success that you know is absolutely possible for you this year. Now, I'm bringing this episode to you today from my caravan. We, exactly like the start of last year, actually, where we had just started our 8-month tour of Australia, attempting to do the full lap. We did most of the lap because we live in Queensland and we decided to leave the Queensland coast for another time and get the kids back to school because strangely, they missed school so much. They really wanted to go back to school and back to their friends. So our trip ended at the start of August, and that was good. We had about 8 months in the caravan. And so this time last year, I was recording my episodes right here in the caravan, and we're back in it because we decided to go away over Christmas and New Year, take the kids on a little, much shorter mission down the coast into New South Wales, have a holiday, catch up with some friends, and just hang at the beach, really, which is kind of funny because we live at the beach anyway where we're at home, but these are different beaches. So it's always fun to get on the road and have that break away with the family and friends. So I'm back here. I'm loving it. Back in the caravan. I've sent them off down the beach for a surf, and I'm here recording this episode for you today. And just loving the freedom of lifestyle. So the 3 things that we're leaving behind in 2023, hopefully we've turned that page already and you're already feeling like we're starting a new leaf. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is that what tends to happen is the things that we experienced in the previous year, the lessons that we learned, all of that stuff, it comes with us. We turn that leaf and we're like, we've got a fresh slate. I've got a new plan for the year. I've got some new goals. Whatever that is, you've still got these things that are like now with you, right? As memories, as learned experiences that you've had. And while they are great to bring with you, obviously we want to bring lessons with us. We want to learn from the past. We don't want to repeat the past. We do also need to release and let go of some of the stuff that we might be feeling a bit ashamed of. We might be shaming ourselves by. We might have a few heavy rocks of, failures that we felt at the time that you're still bringing with us into the new year. And I know from past experience that while we're holding on to those things, it really pulls us back. It's like that feeling, like I'm just imagining you're in some sort of army training, like you've got carrying this huge rucksack full of heavy rocks on your back. And every time you've had a failure, something that you've tried that didn't go as well as you wanted it to, you've added another rock into that sack. And so while we continue to not release them and not let go of them, that bag is just getting heavier and heavier and heavier as we're walking up the hill. And of course, it's weighing you down. It's slowing you down. We don't want to let some of those past experiences, really stop us from moving forward in the way that we're so afraid of that happening again, or, we don't want things to happen again. And this is the difference between, I think, learning a lesson and gaining something from it, and learning that, oh my goodness, that's something that could happen again and there's a huge risk there. It's like, let's learn from it in a smart way. Let's be aware that, hey, that could happen, but guess what? You're here, right? You survived. Whatever it was that you went through hasn't stopped you. You are here right now and you're continuing. So while you are continuing, that means that whatever it was, no matter how hard it felt at the time, no matter how difficult it was, it has not stopped you from continuing to live. The sun's coming up every day. You're still here. Things are still happening. And whether or not you've progressed your business, that's probably down to the level at which you felt pulled back or held down from that experience. So let's kind of get rid of it, which is why the very first thing we're letting go of and we're leaving behind in 2023 is self-doubt. Now, I know that you're thinking, Jess, we all have self-doubt. How do you let go of it? How do you get rid of it forever? That is so difficult. And yes, exactly. We all battle with it. Everybody, even 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs that I speak to in some of my mastermind groups, they still battle with it. It's not something that you're ever going to fully get rid of, but it's like a muscle that you can train in learning how to manage the self-doubt, learning how to recognize that this is your little voice of doubt trying to keep you safe and trying to hold you back, learning to manage it, to be present to it, and to then not be swayed by it. So learning how to maybe put the lid back on the box. Imagine that they're a little jack in the box that's popped up going, hey, don't do that. Or you're never going to make that work because it didn't happen last time. So why would it happen this time? And you're never going to be whatever it is that you want to be. That voice of doubt. Why would anyone choose to sign up with me? Why would this work? Who's ever going to want to do it? Whatever it is, right? That is your little jack in the box, self-doubt, pop their head up, they're shouting out. And what you need to do is learn to say, hey, I recognize you. I hear that, but I'm just going to put the lid back down because, well, what if it does work? What if they do sign up? What if this is the best thing I've ever done? And I'm never going to know that until I do it. So worrying about it, stressing about it, trying to remove all the risk is just totally unrealistic. And it's only going to mean that we stay stuck where we are, stay put. The progress really stops, right? So learning to recognize, what is the difference between self-doubt or intuition? And they can get really, really confused. So often, when I'm hearing that negative voice of like, oh, that's not going to work or that's no good, I like to kind of step away from it and try to look at it from the outside instead of from the perspective that I'm usually in, which is inside our bodies, inside the perspective that we have on a day-to-day basis. I try to step outside of that and look at it from external eyes. Do I still feel the same about it? What would I say to myself if I was coaching myself? If I was two people, what would I say to myself if I was the coach and my client said that to me? That helps you to start to see, well, actually, this is probably just a little voice trying to keep me from doing something new, stepping into the unknown, because, the unknown, it can be scary. That's your subconscious doesn't like you stepping into unknown places because it doesn't know what to do. It's like, well, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Therefore, it could be dangerous. So we're just going to stop and stay where we are. But the thing is, when you think about it, we've all done stuff where we've stepped into the unknown all the time in our whole lives. And you're still here, right? We're still here. So it hasn't been a bad thing. Often, you've probably found that it's been really, really good. So recognizing what is that self-doubt. most amount of self-doubt. Where does that actually happen for you in your business? You might have a particular phrase or common theme that comes up, and only you will know what that is. So I'm asking you the question to just take that moment and say, well, what is it that you tend to tell yourself all the time? Like, they always this, or they'll never that, or he, she, it never, whatever it is. This will never work. It's never good enough. I'm not going to make it. I don't know. Your voice of self-doubt will be unique to you, and you'll know what it is that it says to you. I'd like you to write it down and then find at least 3 pieces of evidence that completely contradict whatever it is. So, for instance, if your voice of self-doubt likes to tell you that this will never work, people will never buy from you, then write that down. People will never buy from me. And then write down 3 times when that hasn't been true. Write down 3. Write down more if you have them. Write down as much evidence as you can that this is absolutely not true. Because I guarantee that you can find them, right? Maybe if your business is new, people haven't bought from you yet. Think about a time when somebody has, signed up with you. They have decided to go ahead with whatever it was that you've pitched to them. So you might need to be creative if you're new in business. But if you are in business already, you have clients, you've probably got more than enough really easy to think of evidence for that one. Hopefully that gives you an example, an idea of what you can do to start to get some control and management of your voice of self-doubt. Because the sooner you recognize that they've popped up out of their box, the sooner you can put the lid back down and remove the emotion that's attached to it, remove the fear, then you're going to be able to progress so much faster in 2024. So that's number 1. Number 2 is undervaluing yourself. Now, this is something I think is so, so important. So I've chosen 3 things to leave behind in 2023. This is number 2 for a very, very good reason. Because once you've removed that self-doubt, the next thing is, hey, let's actually just get real. Let's get real about your business. Let's get real about what it is that you do, how you help people, the value of the transformation that you bring to your clients. Let's stop pricing based on fear. Again, fear, which is where you're looking at the market and you're trying to price yourself based on what other people are charging. Trying to price yourself based on, well, what is the market rate, which there is no such thing. There is no market rate because you're not regulated, likely. Maybe there's a couple of industries where something's regulated by government, but I'd have to say, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're an entrepreneur, it's very unlikely that your pricing is set by someone else. If you're setting your own pricing, then your page is blank. You can write down whatever number you want to on it. One person's affordable is someone else's astronomical. But that means that it's really, the price is up to you. It's up to who it is that you're trying to attract. And in my experience, most people who are offering a service, most coaches, definitely most females, most women such as me, have got such a limited view on, I guess, what their offering is really worth, what that transformation is really worth to their clients. And this isn't by any sort of fault of our own. It's actually the upbringing that we've had, the culture that we've grown up in, how the workforce has trained us to think about the value that we bring and what something's worth. And trust me when I say that it has taught us that we are worth so much less than what you really are. Now, I'm not talking about you as a person. I'm talking about what it is that your skills, your experience, your expertise can bring to someone else. And there's a very good reason why we've been taught that, because the businesses that employed us wanted as much value as they could get for as little price as they could pay. If you could get the exact same quality paying half the price, well, who's not going to choose that, right? So the employers out there in the workforce that we grew up with, where we got our first jobs with and started our careers with, they were trying to get maximum bang for their buck. So they would put the lowest price that they could to hire the right level of quality that they could. And that's how we've been molded and shaped, and obviously what they wanted us to believe. Because if we suddenly started saying, well, hang on, no, this role is actually worth a lot more than that, then guess what? They'd be paying more. And that would mean less money in their pockets at the end of the day. So we've got to kind of go, right, let's step out of that. Let's release that and actually just start to understand the real worth of what it is that we're doing. Now, when I say this, I know that some people are starting to go, well, you can't just, let's not start overpricing. And gosh, I've seen so much criticism and shame put upon coaches in particular recently on social media saying, overprice this and that. And the thing is that usually it's about the person saying it. It's about the person putting out that criticism who has a serious money block. Now, yes, of course, there are some very few people out there who might be doing something that's not aligned to their value. They put a crazily inflated price on something. There's always going to be that. I think in every single industry, every type of product or service in the world, you could probably go out there and find something that is way overpriced, right? I mean, look at the difference between you might buy a handmade leather handbag from somebody maybe in Nepal or in Brazil. And then you could probably go and find the exact same thing that's being produced by a very top designer brand that is being charged thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for, while you might have bought yours for $100. Now you could say, oh, but that's the brand that you're paying for. Well, okay, but that doesn't mean that the product value and worth is any different, right? You're just paying a different price. You're paying for a label. That doesn't mean that the quality of the product is actually more. It's just that you're paying for the privilege of having that brand on your handbag. And we can look at that with every industry. So yes, there's always going to be some stuff that's overpriced. There's always going to be a lot that is well priced. And there's definitely a lot, definitely in services and in coaching in particular, that is actually underpriced. And it's only underpriced because of the person feeling like it's not worth more. What they're doing isn't worth any more. Now, if that's you, and you'll know whether this is you or not, because you'll have that feeling of like, hey, I'm working so much and I'm earning so very little. But yet what I do for people, it changes their life. It creates a whole new existence for them. It creates new careers. It might help them grow their business. It might help them to change their entire lifestyle, maybe save them thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands on healthcare if you're in sort of the health and wellness industry. The work that you do is not based on the amount of time that you're spending in a session. It is based on what is it that you're really bringing to somebody. Now, when you think about it in that way, if you're helping somebody save thousands, maybe tens or even hundreds of thousands on healthcare, and you're only charging $1,000 or $2,000 for your program, then they're getting incredible value from that. And this is where I see so many people are really stuck in this undervaluing, because they're looking at the current present moment of I'm charging for this 1 hour of my time or for this 3 months that we're together. Well, it's really not that. Let's actually start to look at more intrinsically what the value is and stop charging based on a low level hourly rate. That is something that the employers taught us about what our value was, how to value, yourself with a job, because a lot of jobs are based on you get this much for an hour of your time. But when you're in a business, you don't have to price things that way. And in fact, I find it's much better if you don't, because you stop thinking about the minute detail to the minute or the hours that you're spending in your day, and you're starting to think about what it is that you're really doing. How do you get someone a transformation? What's required to get them that outcome that they want? How long might it take you? And you can really then start to put some value on, well, what is that worth? And what am I willing to do that for? Because everybody's different. Your normal is someone else's, wow, that's incredible. Like, what a huge amount, or they'd be absolutely thrilled to be earning that. Everybody's level is different. So you can't base it off what other people are doing. You really need to decide what it is that your level is. And only then you can start to value what it is that you do properly, charge for it, and have people who are aligned to that level, who want that level of transformation from you, are the ones who will show up to you, right? So undervaluing yourself, let's leave that behind in 2023. Let's remember, every time you look out there and see somebody post some criticism of pricing and people charging, you'll also find somebody else who's saying, hey, I haven't been charging enough. I've been undercharging. I'm frustrated by this market that's so competitive, it's keeping my prices low. And that is, you can find equal amounts of those. So this is your opportunity to step away from the market, step away from the herd thinking, the herd mentality, and to put yourself in your place, in your space, and design your pricing to suit where it is that you are right now, who it is that you're attracting, what it is that you do for them. Now, if this is a process, yes. So it might sound like, well, this is very high level. It's not something that's difficult to do at all. There is a kind of a process and a formula behind it that is, definitely what I take my students through in Business Jam, is really understanding to begin with, what it is that value is that they're bringing, what it is that they want to be earning, and then how do we connect the pieces, put the puzzle pieces together so that this works in terms of their offering. Does their offering need to change, or does their pricing need to change? Do we need to adjust who it is that we're targeting? There may be some pieces in place that are really working well, but we might need to shift some of the other puzzle pieces so that it fits better together to give you that holistic outcome. That's the absolute simplicity of it. And unfortunately, I see so many people who are undervaluing, thinking, well, I'm not earning enough, therefore I need to sell more. I need to get out there and sell to more people. And the irony of that is that often they're already working more hours than they want to be working more than the capacity. You might be in that place where you're thinking, well, I started a business so that I didn't need to have the 9-to-5 grind. So I had more time for myself, my family, my other priorities in life. But yet you might find yourself here thinking, I'm working actually more than what I worked in my job. Well, if that's the case, then now is the time to say that's enough. I'm not going to work more. I'm going to figure out how to increase that value, how to actually charge more, how to have a better offering, a more high quality offering. I can charge more for my time and to not base it on my time, right? So that you can be working less and earning more in that time. Now, again, a lot of people think that means I need to scale and have all these big programs. Absolutely not. You do not need to. And here's a really quick and easy example to show you how that could work. Say you want to make $10,000 a month. That's a very generic sort of milestone a lot of people have. They want to hit the 10K a month range. Now, you could have 2 $5,000 clients. Bang. 2 people, 2 clients, 2 yeses. Or you might need 100 $100 clients, 100 people to say yes. So often people think by charging less, it makes it easier to do business. But actually, it makes it so much harder because you need so many more people to say yes. You need different systems. You need much, much bigger reach. And usually the conversion rates on those lower ticket type of offerings is a lot lower than on the higher ticket ones because you're using a much more mass market style of marketing, using different types of sales systems because of the volume, because otherwise you'd need a team. And then, you're charging $100, but then you need people to support you. And suddenly you've got a business that's very resource heavy, top heavy in terms of what it needs to run. And the output down the bottom may not have caught up. Yes, those kind of businesses can absolutely work and do work and are successful once you have that volume and you've got the ability to operate at that volume. But if your business is new, if your audience is small, if you're wanting to stay a lean and very simple business, then the way, much easier and definitely faster way for you to be reaching your 10K months and having $100,000 years is to simply raise up the premium quality of your offering. Have fewer clients at a higher price. You can reach that goal in absolutely no time at all. So let's say goodbye to undervaluing. Let's move on to the third thing that you're going to leave behind in 2023, and that is fearing judgment. Oh, yes, this is a good one because, interestingly, you might have, or some people may have already pressed stop on this episode. They might have stopped listening when I started talking about valuing. Guess why? Because one of the biggest reasons why people aren't putting a price that they really want on their offerings is because they fear the judgment from other people. And for so long, I even feared judgment in talking about this stuff. So interesting, right? Ever since I became a coach, I've been helping my clients to, really be present to the value that they actually bring and to price their stuff properly so that they can reach those goals. And as soon as they do, they are hitting those goals quickly. It can happen in a space of months with some adjustments. But the thing is that I've even been afraid of what people would think if I'm talking about how you value your services and increasing and offering premium services, high ticket offers. That kind of vocabulary has been, a little bit here and there, but I've avoided saying it for so long because of the perceived judgment from people. Because there's so many people out there that have some guilt built up that they think, well, I can't charge for things. And if people are suggesting that they do, then that's triggering them into thinking this is, some sort of money-making scheme, or it makes me a bad person if I'm thinking about this. But it actually isn't. It's just a different way or method of building your business. And there's many different ways. As I've just said, there are people who have a low ticket offering, which with a high volume market approach and much more bigger scope mass market. And that is a very successful type of business to run. But there are also many that do a high ticket premium offering and have a much smaller scope in terms of what they need in order to hit the exact same numbers because they're having a different style of business, a different style of approach. Both of them work. Both of them are very successful. Neither one is right or wrong, and neither one makes someone a good person or a bad person. They're just different types of offerings. If you've got something that's a low ticket offering, it's usually very low touch. But yet you have many more clients to be servicing and to be handling potential inquiries from, and customer service increases. So there's a difference in the way the businesses operate. There's a difference in where the time and effort is. But there is no necessarily right or wrong. It's just a different way of doing it. And so this judgment that we have is so often misplaced, right? Because while there are people who feared or who are triggered by the words of, high ticket, premium offering, anything that's to do with money, then there are likewise other people who are thinking, yes, oh, thank goodness. Well, I don't have to do these huge launches and build massive audiences in order to have a successful business. For them, this has been music to their ears. They're like, oh, thank goodness somebody is saying that. Thank goodness not everybody's saying that I need to, have this mass market approach, or that I need to focus on getting an audience of over 10,000 people just so that I can start to earn some money. Well, the thing is, I still don't have 10,000 followers on my Instagram or on any of my social media platforms. And that has not prevented me from having a six-figure business in very limited hours. Really, 2023, I didn't know what would happen. I gave myself the challenge, went away in the caravan, probably worked on average, say 3 to 4 hours a week. There were a couple of weeks that would have been more. There were definitely some weeks that were less. And I was easily in that range, easily hitting those 10K months without really doing a lot. So there you can see the model was working, right? And it was different to what I had done previously when I had more time and I'd been at home. But it was interesting because I made a few changes in the back end because I knew I'd have less time to work, but still my business was able to hit those numbers because of the way that I put this strategy together. It's like, as long as these puzzle pieces are connecting and fitting together to give me the outcome I want, then I can change the puzzle if I want to. I can do a more low ticket, higher volume approach, but that it comes along with a different set of pieces. You need different puzzle pieces that go together. So I think the thing is understanding what's right for you and deciding what's right for you and what's the way that you want to build your business and going for it, without worrying about what other people might think, because there's always going to be somebody who doesn't agree with you. There's always going to be someone who has the other perspective. They're probably not your people and you don't really need to worry about them. All you should be worried about is, do my puzzle pieces work? Do they make a game that I can win? Is it the game I want to be playing? Now, for me, my priorities as a mum with 2 kids, I was going to say 2 kids under 10, but my son just turned 10 this week. So I've now got a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. And, a lot of my priority is, hey, I don't want their years as a kid to go by without me really being present for them, with them feeling like, well, I remember mum, she was always working, or I don't know, any of that stuff. Like, I wanted to be sort of mum that I'm here, I'm around, I'm dropping them at school, I'm taking them to sports, doing sports with them, I'm hanging out, we're away on camping trips. That's what I want their childhood experience to be and their memories to be. So for me, and this is not saying that's what everybody should be, because maybe you've got different priorities, right? Maybe there's some other stuff. For me, if I wanted to achieve all of that and I wanted to have time for myself, my health, my fitness, the things that make me feel good as well and make me feel like I'm winning at life, then I needed to have a business that I could do in 20 hours a week or less. It was not going to work for me to have a business that's a 40-hour-a-week business, which means that, for me, I need to be able to run it with very small team. I have a part-time VA, a couple of part-time VAs, very small team, because if I've got a big team, then, I'm still managing those people, right? So again, it's just like your time shifts into a different place. And so for me, it didn't make any sense to go for a high volume, hundreds of clients, thousands of clients kind of business model, because I knew that would mean so much in the back end, so much customer service, support. Maybe even if I'm not doing it, it's me managing a team who's doing it. Yes, you can set up technology and really good systems and processes, but there's always going to be an element required for human interaction and human management, especially when you've got that many people in your programs. So for me, I knew that the fastest, easiest way for me to have my business run right now at this season of my life is to focus on high ticket offerings, where I need far less people, need far less clients in order to hit my goals. And it's easier for me to manage. But the real benefit I find as well is that it means I need to do less marketing. I actually can get those fewer people in, have a yes from those people with far, far, far less marketing than what I'm seeing others who have the high volume, low ticket model doing. Now, as I said before, they both work. They both have pros and cons, and they're both going to work differently for different people. And they might be your choice. You might be like, well, I've got a vision to, have this world domination, to be, with people all over the world. And I want to be impacting all of those lives. And, maybe you don't have the same priorities as me around your life at home. And so absolutely, that's fine. That might be the best thing for you to do then, to be able to reach more people. You need to have that higher volume approach, right? But for me, I'm like, well, this is pretty good. I can set up a business. I can work with much fewer clients, and you can then be spending less time marketing, less time on managing your back end and all the admin when you've got a more simplistic, streamlined, but higher ticket offering. So that's kind of what I've always done and what I've helped clients do, what I built my business jam program around, which is essentially what I do my one-to-one coaching on, but in a program where you can do a lot of the framework yourself as a DIY. Well, it's not really DIY because I'm still in there coaching with you, but not on a one-to-one basis. So it's where you can access that same framework and the approach at, with a bit more on yourself, a bit more of your self accountability, shall we say. And that's it. That's really how I set that up, so that I'm helping people to make it easier, make it more simple, have less clients and still be earning that same amount. To me, that sounds like the absolute dream, but it's the reality. And yes, it does 100% work. So my message to you is leave behind the judgment. Who cares what other people think? Someone might say, this low ticket is the way to go, and that's their opinion. Someone else might say something else. Somebody else might say, well, how can you charge these sort of amounts? But that's because they're coming from it from their perspective. If you know that what you're charging is actually still incredible good value for what it is that the outcome that your clients are getting, it really doesn't matter what that price is. You're always going to have somebody who might judge you or judge it and think, well, that's too expensive. Well, anything can be too expensive on its day, right? You might go to a restaurant and look at the prices for their pizzas and think, well, that's too expensive. But is it? Is it too expensive? For whom? Compared to what? It's always so relative. And that's where I think we can learn so much to remove the judgment. And I'll leave you with one last piece, because I found this so powerful when I realized that the judgments that I was in tune with and in tune to were actually not being said directly to me by anybody. They were judgments I was perceiving people would say, which means that they were inside my own head. They were actually my judgments. And maybe this is another little voice, not the voice of self-doubt, but the voice of judgment, a critical voice inside my head that was saying these things. And I was sort of taking it almost like people were saying them to me. But they weren't. This was literally made up scenarios inside my head based on what I see people talking about on the social media and the comments and what have you. I see people talking about stuff. I see their judgments, but they weren't being made of me. They're actually just being made of something else, someone else, whatever it was. But I had subconsciously kind of taken that on board to mean that these were judgments that they would be making of me, and they weren't. So we can leave that behind, right? In 2023, let's together right now say, no more will I let perceived judgments that I've conjured up inside my head, that I've seen other people talking about, but that are not directed personally at me. I'm no longer going to make those about me. I'm going to let them say it, let them have those thoughts, and whatever, it doesn't matter. What they think is none of my business and shouldn't be any of yours either. So that's what I want you to, really leave behind. Self-doubt, undervaluing, undercharging for your services, really anything where you're doing something on any one-to-one basis is a premium service. Please have that, pride in yourself, and that, I don't know what the right word is, but understand that anything you're doing where there's one-to-one time is an absolute premium service. Please don't be swayed by what others are doing out there. If somebody else is going to offer theirs for free and completely give no value to what it is that they do, that's their decision. That's fine. It does not mean that you need to do the same thing. And the third one is fearing judgment. So let's remove those judgmental thoughts that 99% of the time you've made up inside your own head and have not been actually said to you. Let's leave those behind in 2023. Let's let them slide off your back, be like Teflon. Let things just slip off, because the longer that we put them into our rucksack as rocks and are carrying them around with us, then the slower and more held back you're going to be in actually getting to the place that you know that you can get to in 2024. So that's it from me. There's my pep talk. My pep talk to start off the year. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that was useful for you. I know we're talking about different stuff than, I guess, what I've generally talked about before. I've really dived into a bit of the mindset piece today. And, while I don't talk about myself as being a mindset coach, I think everything is comes back to perspectives. And I do love to find the perspectives that I think are unhelpful and are not helping us move forward, and help to shift them into a winning perspective, shift them into an opportunity-focused perspective, as opposed to a problem perspective. So the more we can see the potential, the outcomes, and get rid of those rocks that are dragging you back into the perspectives of the fear, the scarcity, the judgment, then you're really going to find things speed up for you so much more this year. And that's what I want for you. So thank you for joining me today. I will be back again next week with an amazing guest to give you even more incredible insights, some inspirational stories, some business advice to take back with you. I've got such a good lineup of guests coming up for you over the next few months. Really excited about it. And I'll talk to you then. Bye.
If you're a coach, a consultant, or an online service provider, and you're sick of relying on referrals or feeling really overworked and underpaid for the time that you're putting into your business, and really just want to feel like you're on the path to having a fulfilling high-income business that allows you to work part-time hours so you can spend more time with your family, for yourself, and actually enjoy your life, then I have the solution for you. My program, Business Jam, contains my proven strategy for attracting high quality clients to really profitable and saleable services that also fit your lifestyle needs, so that you've created a game that you can win in your business, and it actually gets you to the outcome that you set out to create when you first started. Now, this is for you whether you've been in business for 10 years, 20 years, or even if it's year one, then this is your core marketing strategy foundation that helps you to focus on the right things, stop focusing on all of the wrong things and wasting all of your time with activities that you don't need to be doing. So we get you streamlined and attracting in exactly what you need to have the business outcome that you desire. Business Jam is not open right now, but the waitlist is open. So head to jessicaosborne.com/waitlist and put your name down to get on my priority waitlist for Business Jam. So you're first to hear about it when we're opening doors next. And I always save a few extra special things just for the people who are on my waitlist. So that could be you. So head over to jessicaosborne.com/waitlist to get your name on the priority waitlist for Business Jam. And you'll be first to hear all about it when we're opening up next.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of She's the Business podcast. I hope that you've been enjoying it as much as I have in creating the content to bring to you. So I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate your presence and your attention. Now, if you love the podcast, or maybe you just loved today's episode, then I would absolutely appreciate it if you would go to Apple Podcasts, scroll down, hit the 5 stars, and then leave me a short review about what it was that you really enjoyed in this episode, or maybe in the podcast overall. And when I receive those reviews, then I love to give those reviewers a shout out on my future podcast episodes. So you never know, you may hear your name getting a shout out in a future episode if you do that. So thank you once again for your time, and I'll see you next time on She's the Business.